What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, are the usual suspects, Callum Wiggins.
Take over.
Robert DeFelice.
We're on the road, baby.
Yes, we are, to a certain extent, but we're not talking about Royal Rumble yet. We are talking about NXT TakeOver Phoenix, which is the precursor to that. We just got done watching that a few minutes ago, so we're going to give you our fresh opinions of our first impressions, I guess, because we're not watching this a second time, and break down everything from start to finish, what we liked, what we didn't like, all the other kind of things like that. And we invite you to do what the hell was that? To do the same in the comment section below. So drop those comments with whatever your thoughts are, and we're going to start things off with the pre-show, which was largely the 2018 NXT Year-End Awards. We had some other stuff on the pre-show too, and we're going to get to that, but let's talk about the awards themselves. We had almost all of them announced on here, but for some reason they decided that 3 of them they just didn't have time for or something. I don't know. Do you guys get the opinion that they did that because they wanted people to go to WWE.com, or that they just didn't budget their time?
I think they figured, hey, we'll get more hits on the website, and this isn't that important.
And I think it was also a mixture of the fact that some of the ones like TakeOver of the Year, they can't really give that to somebody, because who takes the award for that? Just hand it to Triple H or whatever.
That one could have been one of the ones that they come back from a little video package and go, yeah, TakeOver, whatever, was so great. And then they just kind of do that. But yeah, the 3 that they didn't announce were TakeOver of the Year, which went to New Orleans, which we were all kind of going like, yeah, it makes sense if that one were to win. The Rivalry of the Year, which went to Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, no surprises there. And Future Star of NXT went to Io Shirai, which I was actually pretty surprised about. I thought that it would end up going to Matt Riddle.
I'm surprised that they didn't do the Rivalry of the Year as well, because that's an easy way to get Gargano and Ciampa talk.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a face-to-face, if anything.
The 2 of them like standing next to each other and just kind of giving each other the eye and stuff.
Yep.
I'm surprised about that, but hey, whatever. We had the Breakout Star of the Year went to Ricochet. No complaints on my part.
Yeah, pretty obvious.
Makes no sense.
Match of the Year went to, surprisingly, at least from my point of view, Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas from TakeOver Philadelphia, which was a fantastic match. I'm not, saying that it wasn't or anything, but I kind of thought that they'd go one of the Gargano-Ciampa matches, and I was surprised they went with the Almas one, because that one it was the beginning of the year, so people could have forgotten about it. It wasn't as sensational as the Ciampa thing, but, there's an argument to be made that it might be the better match, too, so I like that. That was kind of neat.
Very cool, and I gotta say, for all the good stuff NXT did, I don't know if that was the best match they had last year.
I see many people referring to that as the greatest match in NXT history, so it's not a surprise to me that it won. Like, my most enjoyable match last year was the ladder match, but I think this one was probably the second highest for me, so I'm not surprised that it got the victory in the end. It's a good nod to Andrade. Yeah, good nod to Andrade as well.
Yeah, if you're Andrade right now, you're probably sitting there going, see, Vince? See? Just kind of...
I like if I'd had Zelina Vega pick it up and just like George Jack with Gargano, because it really fed into Gargano's latest story to try and win a championship afterwards.
Yeah. I'm curious how they kind of go with that, but we'll get to that in a little bit. We had the Male Competitor of the Year went to Tommaso Ciampa. Not too surprising on that. Could have been a couple other people, but Ciampa is the champion. He's the champion. And, it was neat to have him kind of just go up there and act weird and not really, relish in the whole thing. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, he doesn't need the golden bell because he has Goldie. So what does he really need a bell for?
By the way, I like that the bells actually do work. We saw that with
is a nice touch.
Bobby Fish. He represented the Undisputed Era for Tag Team of the Year, ringing the bell a little bit, so it works. Like, it's not just, plastic or something. That's kind of cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, nice touch. Just probably means they're just painting the ring bell gold. So
yeah, but I
probably
mean,
saves the money as well.
They could have just done some kind of, plastic 3D printing mold of something or something, like that.
I'm just gonna say it's efficient. You just have ring bells lying around. You just spray paint them up, make them look nice, and then you can use it again. As just things to hang on people's mantle later on.
Yeah. And I don't think we have any complaints when it comes to Undisputed Era winning Tag Team of the Year. We all saw that one coming from a mile away.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely deserved.
And then the winner of both the Female Competitor of the Year and the Overall Competitor of the Year was Kairi Sane, which I was really surprised about because I didn't think that she would win Female Competitor of the Year, let alone also win Overall. I thought that was going to be Ciampa. And I thought that Shayna Baszler had Female Competitor of the Year. So for her to win both, I mean, that is going to be a huge boost to Kairi Sane because these are fan voted. So now WWE knows that people like Kairi Sane.
She's an adorable human being, and her accepting these awards so happy was a highlight of my night.
Yeah, I felt pretty certain away. I don't think they told her in advance that she'd won the Overall Competitor of the Year because she seemed like genuinely shocked and emotional when she'd actually won it.
Yeah, they might have told her about the female one because she kind of came in with like a little bit of a script, it seemed, the whole like, pirate thing going on. Or maybe she just planned that ahead of time. But the overall, you could tell that she was just like, what? I won this too? What the fuck? Just kind of...
Like, she's like, thank you, I'm so happy. And as she's walking away, she says to Sarah Schreiber, I love you.
It's a testament to her just immense popularity despite the language barrier or anything along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it should be an indication to people who have a bit more of a clouded view to this that you don't have to speak fluent English or be a native English speaker to get over in a professional wrestling sense. It's now a multicultural international thing.
Especially since wrestling's so over the top and it's so like, circus acty type of stuff where it's like you don't necessarily need dialogue for a lot of it. And Kairi Sane comes out, she's this cute little pirate, and then you're just like, oh, look at that. And then she does like an elbow drop and you're like, hey, cool. And it's like you don't really need to have her do some super intricate storyline to be like, I'm a fan of that person. And I think that the fact that Kairi Sane won both of these and Io Shirai won Future Star of the Year means that tag team's winning those women's tag team titles somewhere down the line in 2020. If not 2010. 2010. Yeah, they're going to go back 9 years. That's great. We've had a long week. 2019, 2020, at some point, Io Shirai and Kairi Sane, they're winning those belts. And that'll be fun. The other stuff on the pre-show, the main thing to talk about, I would think, out of all like the discussion that I had seen, well, maybe a little bit on the fact that Pat McAfee was wearing jean shorts like that. That's kind of awkward. But Sam Roberts kind of got into the discussion going on because he put out there that Bianca Belair was not good enough for a takeover match like this. And got people in a tizzy, and it seems like people are in conflicting opinions about this. Rob, that rubbed you the wrong way, right?
Yeah, mostly because of who was delivering it. Like, my initial thought was, well, he isn't entirely wrong, but I just think it was too much of an over-the-top delivery, which Callum provided the perfect reasoning why, and I will let him say that again.
It's essentially what I found it hilarious and really well done from the perspective of NXT always does something for a reason. I got the sense that Sam Roberts' remarks about Bianca Belair was essentially his knowledge of the fact that she has a very passionate fan base behind her. NXT has a very general passionate fan base anyway. Him saying those remarks would get them all amped up and annoyed with him, and it's a mixture of a way to just work the fans a little bit and also to get the fans just like reveling behind Bianca to say, okay, she's going to have a great performance here tonight and she's really going to show everybody and help them like reinvigorate her like performance for this show, because people will be getting behind her and really wanting to prove this arsehole wrong that he said that stuff and it's completely inaccurate. She definitely deserves to be on a takeover show.
As they've said many, many times, Sam Roberts is there to provide the voice of the internet community. Do you think they decided to have him kind of go the other way and just be full-on dickhead Smark?
Well, he was the voice of the internet wrestling community in that he was a troll.
Yeah.
He just decided to troll people for the sake of it because he knew that he would get a response. And lo and behold, he did, because everyone just got their panties in a bunch and saying, oh, what's he saying about Bianca Belair not being good enough for TakeOver? Or she'll show him, she'd kick his ass and stuff like that. And it's just like, your beard looks stupid. His beard does look pretty stupid, by the way, as well. It's just like, but...
Well, I will say that I think the delivery would have been better and much more entertaining from Pat McAfee.
What if
Pat
Sam
McAfee's
Roberts really just has a problem with Bianca Belair, and it's like he's like sitting there, you know, trying to think of notes that he can talk about for that, and then he's just kind of like, this bitch, and just sort of
I'm sure that Sam Roberts wants nothing more than to at one point get body slammed or something like that by Bianca Belair, just to get a huge pop out of it. Like, I think he wants to get involved in some regards in that sort of side of things. Not too much, because he knows that he'd probably get hurt doing that too much, but I think he wants to be part of the process of getting people over. He's probably seen that as an opportunity to get Bianca Belair over the top.
I just thought it was an interesting thing because I didn't see that coming, and when he said that, I was just like, okay, we're taking a pretty firm stance here for being against the babyface de facto. I mean, Bianca Belair's not really a babyface right now. Like, I want people to kind of be aware of that. She could very easily go back to being a heel, you know, January 30th when they do the next tapings. But she was the de facto babyface, and for it to be like, fuck her, she's not good enough and all that, I was like, wow, okay, we're going down that road. That was kind of surprising.
By the way, I was completely unaware that the pre-show started when it did, and that the show started at 7 o'clock.
You missed the whole pre-show thing?
I actually came right into the show after Kairi Sane accepted the award, and then, or maybe when Roberts was starting that rant on Bianca, which is another reason why I was so taken aback by it. So, you know, WWE should do a better job of saying, hey, TakeOver start at 7 now, because I completely forgot.
Yeah, we're talking about a company that didn't even have TakeOver Phoenix listed as one of the upcoming shows up until, I think it was Thursday night. Or it might have been Friday morning, actually. You know, they don't update things on the website if they don't care about them. And I think, actually, right now, let me double check just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that right now, the Fatal 4-Way for the Cruiserweight Championship still has no updated graphic for tomorrow, which is just, like, absurd, if that's the case. And let's see if it pops up. I can see that there's a Golden Crisp thing up there now, so that, you know, they made sure that they got that product placement thing on there. Nope, it still does not have the updated graphic. It's still the blank gray background. Goes to show how much they care about the 205 Live crew.
I'm getting the sense that you're the only person in the world this is annoying right now.
It might be, but it's just like, you know, it's the principle of the thing. This company doesn't have main event listed on there, and then it's like,
and we know by WWE the one thing that they really care about is principles.
Well, we've had a couple different teachers, right? You know, you gotta have a principal.
I'll
character.
say this: if Tony's the only one in the world, it's annoying. Then that shows what's wrong with the people doing this stuff. If it's not bothering you, not be factual with your work,
or the fact that it's just like, damn it, why is 205 Live always getting overlooked? That kind of a thing. I know We Are 205 Live agrees with me on Twitter. That guy, very passionate. So that's the pre-show. And I like this kind of pre-show a lot more than I like the normal pre-shows because it actually served a purpose. So this hour went by pretty quick. And even though I was, you know, throwing a lot of things out there and doing a lot of different tasks at the same time, maybe that was part of it. The idea that they gave you something other than the video packages makes it so much better. So, yay. Let's go into the first match of the night. That was the NXT Tag Team Championship match between the Undisputed Era going in as champions and War Raiders going in as Vikings with a hell of an entrance. Already down on my list as potential best entrance for the year. Like that quite a bit.
that was really cool.
That was a great entrance. I think there was one thing that stuck out to me. I think the spotlight was in the wrong place. Because I saw a spotlight come out and it seemed to just hit one of the guys that was standing behind them. I think it was meant to be on the two of them. But other than that, it was a really cool looking entrance.
I didn't notice that, but now I'm going to eventually go back and check that out and see if it is.
I always nitpick with NXT because they set the bar so high that you kind of just have to nitpick going past that side of things.
Well, if we're going to talk about nitpicks, let's talk about the opposite of it, which is just like standout highlights, because I can talk about a couple things just that Hansen alone did in this. He did the cartwheel, which I was like, what the hell, man? Like, you can do a cartwheel like that? He did that handspring double back elbow, the tope suicida, or as I said on Twitter, the no pay suicida. Just like, this dude's the size of Killian Dane, and he's flipping around better than people a third of his size. That's fucking impressive. And this isn't the first time he's done this kind of stuff, too. Hansen's awesome.
Yeah. Hansen was very impressive, but my favorite spot of the match, maybe of the year, because I just think it's ingenious. When a giant man goes to tope on you, move! And they did, and I was happy to see that logic.
I like the way that they tried to, because at the start of the match, it was very clear that the crowd was pretty much in the corner of Undisputed Era. They're cool heels, they're the cool team to cheer for, but they did a good job of like limiting the involvement of Hansen for the vast majority of the first half of the match. And so you'd have to have just Rowe getting beaten up by these two guys, and O'Reilly and Strong played the heels as well as they possibly could. And eventually, when you have the hot tag at Hansen, and Hansen's doing all these like flips all over the place, mixed with these huge power moves, his stamina is incredible for someone of his size. Like the fact that he was just charging from one corner to the other over and over again, like that just really gets the crowd behind them, which is a difficult situation to be in because they were the big guys, the big powerful dudes against these two smaller, like guys that had to be a bit smarter about the way they were going about things. So they were an uphill battle in terms of the heel babyface dynamic.
And they pulled it off. This was a hell of a match. And now at this point, I need to stop even being a little hard on the War Raiders. I kind of wasn't so sold on them for a while. And War Games put them in a more positive direction. And then now at Phoenix, I'm sold. War Raiders are cool. And I'm really interested to see where they go in the future when it comes to this, because now at this point, we know Undisputed Era, they're probably coming up to the main roster. They wouldn't have done the whole title transition if it wouldn't be the case. Might not happen for a little bit, might not happen until after WrestleMania, but even if they do the whole, like, which I guess it technically doesn't apply to NXT, but the no automatic rematch type thing, they could just do that again. It could be Undisputed Era against War Raiders at TakeOver New York, maybe in some kind of gimmick match, or they could do something along the lines with the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Maybe they do the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and then the winning team gets the title shot. Like, they do that in advance. Or maybe they actually don't have the War Raiders defend the titles. Maybe they just go with the Tag Team Classic or something like that. I don't know. But in any fashion, I think War Raiders are off to a really good start.
The one thing of note for me here was that Bobby Fish just joined them on the ramp briefly and then walked back, and that there was no sign of Adam Cole. Cole did appear in a post-show segment where he just simply said, "Don't worry about this, guys. This is a speed bump. All the championships will still be ours at some point in 2019.
All the championships. Doesn't necessarily be NXT.
He didn't necessarily signify NXT now.
I think it just has to be said, just reiterate, if we don't do it every single takeover, but there is something about NXT and tag team wrestling that super exceeds anything that WWE or pretty much any promotion at the moment is doing with regards to their tag team division. They feel special. They feel important. Every single match you know is going to be high octane and really, really impressive and really well laid out. Like, I saw the match earlier this week as well from the regular NXT show of that Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch against Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner, and that was just a absolute like sprint of a brilliant match. It was basically this match, but just really condensed down to like 5 or 6 minutes. And yeah, they really know how to treat tag teams properly and make them like a big part of the show. I think there's a big argument, besides maybe one other match, that this got the biggest reactions from the crowd throughout the entire match.
This is my favorite match of the night.
Yeah, it's my favorite as well.
Okay, I was going to ask that before we were on the air, as if this was close compared to the match that we will eventually talk about, but this was my favorite match as well. This match and the Undisputed Era, and I know every takeover we just come on here and sing their praises. But how can you not? They are just ingenious. They do great heel work. One of my favorite things ever was O'Reilly had one of the War Raiders in a sleeper, and Roddy attacked Hanson, brought Hanson in the ring, and while the referee's getting Hanson out, Roddy literally just drags O'Reilly, who brings the other War Raider back to their corner. It was just ingenious tag work that you don't see. There's a lot of psychology on the show in general that you just do not see anymore, and it just makes me so happy every time.
It's so weird that, like, as much as it happens, we can still keep saying the same things, and they still apply, which is just NXT is a brand that lets people do what they are supposed to do, and then they do it. And, you know, tag teams are like, well, we're tag team specialists. We know how to do tag team wrestling. And then they have great tag team matches. And it's been multiple different types of tag teams, too. So we've gotten well past the point where it might have been just like, well, it's just DIY. No. DIY, The Revival, American Alpha, Undisputed Era, Sanity, Authors of Pain, War Raiders, Strong and Pete Dunne, Mustache Mountain. This is
Lorcan
like
and
10,
Birch, yeah.
Lorcan and Birch, yeah. Like 10 tag teams over the past 2 years that have gone through different, you know, pairings. And they're always so good. And then you get the main roster and you're like, oh, the best we got for you is you could piss on a robe and then win a championship and stuff. And it's like, what the fuck? God, Triple H is going to be so much better when it comes to that. It's just,
And they're gonna do better
every
now.
day.
They promised the Revival they're gonna do better now because
Yeah.
they want them to leave.
Listen, guys, we promise we don't want you to leave. So can you just lose again on Monday Night Raw? How about that? Is that something different? And then, ugh, we'll see. But at the very least, the NXT TakeOver Tag Team Awesome Match streak continues, and that was a great way to start off the night. Then we went over to Matt Riddle defeating Kassius Ohno for the third time. They've had 3 matches, and going into this, I had to admit, I was not sold on the fact that they were putting this on the card. I kind of looked at it as, what's the point? Because Matt Riddle decisively won the first time, and then the second time, he won again. It was a normal match, and, you know, that's already, you're 0 for 2 if you're Kassius Ohno. There's no justification to be like, all right, it's 1-1, and here's the rubber match or something. But they did a good job. I thought that this was told pretty well, and you could tell that there was like desperation in Ohno. He had a little section of this, which was gross, where he was biting Matt Riddle's toes. Just like, ugh, it's disgusting. We had a good German suplex from Riddle. Shows that he's pretty powerful. And the match ended with a submission by a series of elbows to the face, where it was just sort of like, all right, I'm going to tap out because stop pummeling me to death.
Yeah, that was cool.
Really fun, too, because now we've gotten Matt Riddle's won with a knee to the head. He's won with submissions, and now he's won with elbows to the head in a submission. So he's got a little variety going on with that. Now he looks pretty damn strong. There's no reason for these two to fight anymore. And I'm thumbs up when it comes to it. How do you guys feel?
Yeah, very positive out of this one. Obviously, there was a bit of a downturn in terms of the crowd because they were just so exhausted off the first one, so you couldn't expect them to get amped up as much for this match, especially because there wasn't nothing at stake in this one other than just like a win or a loss. The story was told very well with Ohno's mixture of just like desperation and wanting resentment towards this guy who wants to climb up the ladder and be another person that surpasses him on the totem pole. He pulled out a number of stuff that we don't normally see out of Ohno, like the moonsault as well. And just like obviously attacking the foot, a very like savvy heel moves that you'd expect from a ring general like Ohno. And yeah, the stoppage was different, which was good. We saw a more aggressive side of Riddle because in general he comes across just in promos and stuff like that as a bit of a, I don't want to say like an idiot because he's definitely not an idiot, but like a goofball essentially. So someone who takes life easy and just takes things as it comes. He's the original bro. So he just like very laid back, very casual when it comes to that. We got to see him like pissed off and angry towards Ohno and like release that aggression on him with just elbowing him into submission. So it was just a good way to just finalize this feud once and for all. Riddle has proven his superiority over Kassius Ohno, and he can move on to whatever's next for him, whatever feud is next.
I will always sing the praises of Kassius Ohno, and this match had a lot of flashes of brilliance that show why. First of all, the thing where he trapped his head in the apron and stomped on it.
Oh, that was cool, yeah. I like that.
You never see that. And then a really cool moment that was told through body language. Ohno floored Riddle with this elbow, but it wasn't like an elbow that was meant to, put him down. It was just, get away from me. And when he realized he was down, he scurried into the pinfall saying, "Oh shit, I got him."
That was really cool. I like that a lot.
And then the tap out, and the fact that about a minute and a half after, he's still tapping out because he's just like crying in pain of, "Please stop." Just so good. And I really enjoyed this match for the character work of it.
Ohno's really made Riddle with this feud. And people would say it may not be the most exciting one in the world, but it's really established Riddle was like, okay, this is a big guy that we need to pay attention to for people that hadn't already seen him.
Yeah, and it's much better than if he would have just had some kind of series of matches with Kona Reeves or something.
Yeah. And can I just say, Matt Riddle's entrance music is just so Matt Riddle. It just says like, I don't think I've ever heard an entrance theme quite like it before. Just so, like the tune, it doesn't really have a tune in the sense, just like it moves all over the place every now and again. Just like, it's just so bro, I guess, really. Not that I can really be a judge of what's bro and what's not bro.
Are you not a bro?
I'm definitely not an original bro. I'll have to be a bro in training after this.
We'll have to get Vince Russo's opinion on it.
Listen, bro, what he needs to do, he needs to put shoes on because people are biting his feet.
The NXT North American Championship followed this. Ricochet defending against Johnny Gargano, coming up short, losing it to Johnny Gargano in what I consider the second best match of the night. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree on that. What are you guys feeling about that?
I go second best, yeah.
Yeah, without a question. This match was unreal in some points with how amazingly smooth both men are. And again, great character work on the part of Johnny Gargano, who's still really selling this character change and this inner conflict of, I don't want to be a bad guy, but clearly that's the only way I'm going to win.
I'm going to probably say one of the most contrived things that I've said on this podcast, which is saying a lot, really. The thing that stops it from being the best match on the night for me is the fact that for a long period, it felt like two guys trying to have a great match, which is not how I want wrestlers to behave. I want wrestlers to behave like they want to win a match or they want to hurt their opponent or whatever it is. You don't want to see two people looking like they're trying to have a great match, because it just means, okay, we're trying to put all these spots together, we're trying to do this and that, we're trying to make it look so technically sound and smooth and crisp, and you just kind of disconnect. Like, yeah, but I still kind of watch wrestling to actually see real stories and real people want to actually like hurt each other, just not really, obviously. But rather than, okay, I want to see two people going out there generally trying to have the best match they possibly can, because then it just feels a bit like a performance rather than a match.
I can see where you're going with that.
Other than that, but as the match progressed and more of the story came unfolded, Gargano starting to like tap into the darker side of his mind, Ricochet starting to get a bit more together with his moves to try and keep Gargano down. It started to obviously connect a lot more with me, and by the end of it, it was the great match that we expected it to be.
I was a little bit underwhelmed in the sense that I wanted it to be something that I would easily put down in my match of the year candidates, and I don't think it's that strong. But it was still fun as hell. Like, I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression and think that I'm like crapping on it, because there's nothing to crap on. It was fucking entertaining. And
yeah, Johnny Gargano's incapable of having a bad takeover match. So.
Pretty much, and you put him with Gargano, with Ricochet, and Ricochet's flipping around, doing all crazy kind of stunts, and making it look so easy too. Like that moonsault, for instance, it doesn't even look like he jumps off of the actual ring post. Like he just kind of flies. And,
yeah, he does pretty much. He just taps the ring post as he goes over.
Yeah, just very, very lightly, and it's like, how the fuck is this guy able to do this kind of stuff? Like, I mean, literally, my back has been hurting the past couple of days, and there's been times where I've been like, oh my god, I need to crack it like 5 times just because I kneeled over a little bit to cook something over the stove. This guy's just sort of like, yeah, I don't need actual physical things to step on in midair. It's like, what? What are you, a goddamn X-Men? Like,
there were some brilliant like technical counters in this thing, like Gargano reversing a like a handspring elbow type thing into the Gargano escape immediately was great. This mixture of like a it's supposed to be like a suicide dive that was caught on Ricochet's shoulders, and then that was countered with a reverse Rana, and then the floating DDT.
Yeah, that was really good. That was a really good near fall too, because that was just like, oh shit, he's got it now.
Yeah, just like one counter and like feat of strength or impressive athleticism after another. And then you get towards the end, which is obviously Gargano pulls out the concrete. It's just like you see that and just think, I love the moment where he thinks that he's about to do DDT, but then he like acts against it. Like there's still a little remnant of the old Johnny Gargano still in there. The guy that wants to just do it right.
I almost thought that small package was going to get him, because I thought he was going to snap afterwards, realizing, shit, I lost because I couldn't pull the trigger. And sure enough, he was able to kick out and still realize that he needed to pull that trigger.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was going to be the end too, and that's a good storytelling element too, because then that means that going forward, he can act more like a heel and be like, you see, I almost lost because of that, but I did it. I won the championship. Proves all of what I've been saying over the past couple of months correct, and good little different change of direction in his character.
That brainbuster on the concrete was
like, ow.
I don't know how you do that safely. It's just like the big thing. I mean, I know obviously they must know the way of doing it because it's Johnny Gargano and he doesn't seem like he'd be able to be capable of hurting anyone in a match. But yeah, it's not a bump that I would be willing to take in any circumstances, no matter how many years I would have been doing wrestling or whatever. And then when he actually wins it with the float over DDT, it's the look on his face afterwards of like this realization that he's finally holding a championship in NXT, like a singles championship. And just the sudden realization of like how he got it and how he achieved it just starts to fade in, and he can revel in his new found darkness. It's like sense like when he was about to do the float over DDT, he was just screaming into Ricochet's face, "I win." Just he's such a good character.
And by the way, that's 3 matches where we have now praised the storytelling of NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Just keeping track of that.
I don't think we're going to say anything bad in any regards to that, but no, it's still young, but when so.
We'll a little bit on one part a little bit later. But I don't have any complaints storytelling wise as far as the NXT Women's Championship match goes, because Shayna Baszler is fantastic at what she does. And her with Bianca Belair, that was a story that they could have gotten into a couple different traps with, because Bianca Belair's been this undefeated person who is stronger than pretty much everybody that she's been up against, and then for her to look strong, she has to kind of make Baszler look weak, and vice versa and all that. But they started off in a way that made me kind of go, oh, they're making Belair look a little bad. But then they balanced that out, and, Belair started to fight back, and by the end of this whole situation, Belair's undefeated streak ends, but she doesn't look bad in her loss, because she had a pinfall that clearly would have been, championship would have changed hands if the referee would have been available, but Jessica Carr gets knocked down, so, they do that whole kind of spot. Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir interfere twice, and then Belair multiple times is able to break out and not quite submit. And she still doesn't really, because the referee stops the match. So she looked as strong as she could be in her loss. And Baszler, God, she's so good at just like playing up the heel with little tiny details. Like, I loved the part of the match where she grabs her hair and pulls her into the ring post. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole night. She's just like, man, she's something else when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I can't wait to see her against like some of these other people on the main roster and all that.
Yeah, I mean, this match did more to put over Bianca Belair than I thought they would. I was very surprised to see her get up a second time in the choke. I thought, once was enough. She looked strong. But, wow, she really came out of this match thinking she's going to be a major player. And not a lot of people are going to be able to be booked stronger than Bianca Belair.
It wouldn't shock me at all if she comes up to the main roster without winning that title.
She could. Go ahead.
I absolutely adored the story that this match was telling. It started off with Baszler getting into some sort of rhythm and control and starting to dominate Belair. I love the stomp on the elbow spot is just, it's one of the best spots in the entire WWE right now because it just looks so painful. And it's so simple I assume it's so simple to do because she does it so effortlessly, but it just looks like it actually hurts. And then I have to shout out the commentary on this match as well because they really did a good job of telling the story of saying that Bianca Belair, even in her undefeated streak, has never fought a beast quite like Shayna Baszler, and that was throwing her off her game. She was showing like visible signs of pain. She was screaming in agony with every move that Baszler was hitting. Then we get the comeback, we get the whip into the abs, which causes Baszler to bleed.
Yeah, as soon as they showed that, I mean, that was a loud smack sound too.
Yeah.
But once they showed that just gash on there, I'm like, fuck that.
How has that not been like? How is that not a foreign object? I guess I would ask.
Smark Madness tournament.
Yeah, but it's a sense of like, I always feel a little bit like odd about the fact that she has to move around, always carrying her hair. Like when she's doing like Irish whip runs, whatever, she has to have her hair in her hand, otherwise she might trip over it or whatever. But you can kind of look over it because that's her gimmick, that's a weapon in her arsenal. So you get a sense that like she knows how to move with it. And then obviously you have the visual pinfall, so you get a sense that she would still be undefeated if the referee had just been up. Jessica Carter, great bump by the way. That she just really hit the mat with a big thud.
Better bump than refs normally do.
Yeah. Then the other horsewomen come out, they get disposed of. Then she manages to get out of the first clutch. Then she tries the 450 after more interference and gets caught in the clutch again, tries to power out of it so many times. They made her look so strong. I thought it might be going a little too overboard with how long she was staying into it, but in the end of the day, like the crowd was really starting to chant like EST when she was getting close to her feet or whatever. It's like, I know you said earlier that she might just be a heel next week over, but I think this really was the thing of like, this is the real turning point. Bianca's now a gutsy babyface. She's not a heel anymore. This is like her being a strong-willed babyface who almost overcame the odds and was forced to eventually just submit to the powerful bully who had her friends by her side. And I don't see this being the final time these two have a match together.
That's where it's kind of tough to me because I could see this being kind of like the Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler thing where Shayna Baszler didn't win the first time against Ember Moon, but that was just because they wanted to stall things a little bit. And then they had the rematch, Shayna Baszler won, and that was the end of it. They could very easily just say, Bianca Belair deserves another title match, she gets it at New York, and then she probably wins the championship. But they could instead say, you know what, that was her title shot, and she came up short, and we're going to spend February and March building up a new person, and come April, it's Io Shirai, or it's Candice LeRae, or... well, it's probably nobody else other than that.
Well, they could give it to Kairi Sane again because like she won the overall. It could change their plans in the sense that she won the overall Superstar of the Year because it obviously means she's the biggest female star in NXT right now. So they might just say, we kind of need to give her the championship again because she's clearly wildly popular.
That makes me think more, that combined with the future star going to Io Shirai makes me lean more towards Io Shirai, because I think that they could use Kairi Sane to put over Shayna Baszler and have like Shayna Baszler against Kairi Sane on an episode of NXT beginning of March or something. Kind of like, I won the overall competitor of the year and female competitor of the year. I won another shot. And she'll be like, you got your shot, whatever. Well, if I can beat you, then, we can fight at New York. And then Kairi Sane loses and Io Shirai comes to the rescue and kind of sets up something like that. I think that that's kind of where they're going to go, more so than just another Belair shot or something. But then again, Belair was getting a good response, so they could just kind of make it a switch over to her. And I don't know, it's tough. I guess it all depends on what their plans are for Baszler. If she's losing that championship and she's coming up to the main roster around WrestleMania, then I think that it's easier to just put the belt on Belair than to build up Io Shirai and do all that kind of a thing. But then again, you do have 2 months, so I don't know. Either way, if it goes on Belair, I think that we're all in agreement that's going to be good. If it stays on Baszler, Baszler's awesome. So,
Yeah, you can't really lose with either of these two. Like, you know how much I hold Baszler in such high regard. There was the one thing that I didn't like about this, and it's another nitpicking thing. But after the match, you see like a close-up shot of Belair, and she's smirking at Baszler. I think it was kind of meant to be a case of like, I had you beat type thing. But to me, the sense that she got choked out, she got screwed out the match, she's lost her undefeated streak, she was choked out, she was in like immense pain and stuff like that. I wouldn't have had her smirk afterwards. I would have had her frustrated or tearful or like resentful. Maybe not resentful, but just like feel cheated out of the match rather than show the smirk afterwards. Just didn't seem to fit the situation. But that's just a nitpick on my part.
Is there some kind of like nose injury for Shafir? Did she break her nose or something?
She must.
She was wearing a face mask. Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Well, she wasn't wearing it on the obviously our previous NXT recordings would have been like a while ago, so she wasn't wearing it then. So it must have happened in like a recent live event or something. But I haven't heard anything.
Unless that's just like a style choice and she thinks that looks cool or something.
Yeah, she's wrong with that about that then, but each to their own.
So that took us into the final match of the night, which was the main event.
Hold on. Are we not talking about the Velveteen Dream?
I didn't think that there was really anything to talk about there, but yeah, toss that out if you want to. He's in the crowd.
He was in the crowd, and they showed him arriving to the building with 2 really good-looking girls on his arms, and followed behind by 2 guys. And then he was just sitting in the crowd, like, the usual big indie signing. And I guess this plays into his, I'm bigger than they're treating me, I know my worth. But I thought it was interesting that they made sure to spotlight him in that regard, which I took as, okay, maybe he's not going up to the main roster just yet, and he will be sticking around in NXT.
Maybe it was just their attempt to throw people off the scent that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
I think even if he is, that New Orleans match is Matt Riddle, Velveteen Dream.
Well, actually, we're going to get into some predictions when it comes to that, because that's not the pairing that I can see happening, but we'll see. The NXT Championship match was between Tommaso Ciampa and Aleister Black. Ciampa goes in as champion. Ciampa leaves as champion in what I consider to be a disappointment. I was not all that into this. It wasn't awful, but I don't remember a single thing really happening. I thought it was just kind of bland.
I loved the storytelling with the leg. This is one of my favorite things I've seen in a while, with the exception of Black did a moonsault late in the match that I just did not understand why, because you're selling the fact that your leg is completely shot. But I thought it was masterful work to work the legs it played into so much of what they did. And a lot of the offense, too, was just really vicious. Tommaso Ciampa is still a guy that I can't believe is thriving as much as he is. He is so good. The Tower of London on the apron, the roll up that literally positioned Black into the ropes for the draping DDT. The 4 fairy tale endings that he hit, just all of it was so good.
I think it was a very good match, but I think it was hampered by a lack of crowd reaction. I think they were pretty spent after all the other matches that had taken place, and it doesn't bode well to the Royal Rumble if that's the case, because that's going to be a considerably longer show. If this was they were already spent by this point in time, then it might not be the greatest sign of all. But yeah, I thought overall this is a very good match. Ciampa staring at the championship. It's like one of those memes of find a girl that looks at you like Ciampa looks at the NXT championship. It's like he just stares at it like it's the One Ring or something. It's so good, the like obsession he has over that belt. I think like most of it, like, I do agree with you, Tony, that most of it in terms of like just the overall in-ring action, the main body of it was largely forgettable besides the work on the leg, which played into the rest of the story going forward. There was like a few decent spots, like the Tower of London on the ring apron. It may have just been a call to Nigel McGuinness there, because that was obviously his finishing move. Had the Black Mass kick, which Ciampa, just as Black is about to drape his arm over for the cover, Ciampa rolls over onto his stomach. I thought that was such a well-timed spot.
And one that I've never seen. Like, you see the guys kind of roll out to the floor. You've seen that before, but just rolling over onto their stomach just as they're about to get pinned, that was nice.
And honestly, one of my favourite, arguably my favourite spot in the entire thing, was after Black had hit that moonsault to the outside, he slips on water that was left out on the other thing. And that stumbles his way when he tries to get back into the ring, and that's what he walks into the first fairy tale ending. I thought that is such that's a detail that was just like, oh, they just did a nice little water spot earlier in the thing just to have him spray water out, and then you call back to that about 10-15 minutes later builds towards like the ending sequence of the match. Like, you wouldn't see that on the main roster. That doesn't happen on the main roster. It happens in NXT because they pay attention to every single last detail.
Oh, see, on the main roster, it would be like they'd spill the water, and then for the next 10 minutes, they would be piping in the idea that Michael Cole really needs to remind everybody that the water is out there and that somebody might slip on it at some point. And it'd be like, I remember, everybody, there's that water that nobody's cleaned up yet. Oh, look at that. He spilled the water and slipped on it. Oh, look, we didn't see that coming. You know,
I don't know if we needed the concrete thing in this one as well, but I guess if you're trying to build the correlation between the two of them. I also really like the transition into Ciampa using the referee to prevent another Black Mass, and then that's like movement into the draping DDT, and then another fairy tale ending. And then they do the spot that they don't really do. This is kind of more of a New Japan finish than a WWE style finish, where you hit after you've hit the finishing move, or you've hit a big signature move, and you've turned to the pinfall and they're kicked out. You just hit your finisher again, and then that'll be the end of it. So he goes for another fairy tale ending, then picks Black up. Black tries to hit the Black Mass. His leg completely gives out on him. Another fairy tale ending, and then the win. So it's fairly clean, but he still had to use the referee to get a result. Did you guys get the same impression of me that this is the end of Black in NXT?
Yeah.
It felt like a swan song to me.
There's nowhere else for him to go.
No, because what's he going to do? Is he going to fight Gargano for the North American title? That's going to be like a step down. And he's already had enough matches with Ciampa. He's already had enough matches with Gargano as it is. There's no tag team that he's going to start transitioning into. Like, he has to come up to the main roster now, and I'm more sold now that he's going to be at the Royal Rumble than anything.
Even though I don't think he should be, unless he's working that injury for his entire run in the Rumble.
Yeah, that might be a good reason to get him eliminated, and people not to get so upset about it. But it's a sense of the fact that he was beating so comprehensively with so many finishes hit on him, and he still looked kind of gutsy by kicking out some of them on his way out. It just seemed like, yeah, this is the an ideal way to do a swan song for Black.
Well, remember last year, Adam Cole came out and he was still all bandaged up, and Ember Moon did the same. So that could do that. We could have like his leg bandaged up.
Because in NXT we have continuity.
Yeah, we pay attention to details and want people to enjoy the product, and not the whole game plan with the main roster where it's like, oh, they don't fucking remember that. Like with the SmackDown losing so much at Survivor Series, or AJ Styles punching Vince McMahon, or, you know, any other things that they just drop off the face of the earth.
But I do see your point, Tony, that it wasn't. I can understand why it comes across as like a disappointment, because I think still that it was well wrestled and had a decent story going for it. It didn't have the edge of excitement that some of the other matches on the card had.
It fell short from comparison to the other matches on the card, and it fell really short, I think, comparing to the other matches that these two have had and the other main events that we've been having too. Every match that was in the main event of the past year is better than this one. And 2 matches, if not 3 matches or 4 matches, were better on this particular card, I think. So it's sort of like, this is the main event. It should be the best. And it was my least favorite.
That's fair enough.
But now I want to kind of transition us into our usual, like, try to, you know, gaze into the crystal ball type thing. We talked a little bit about the idea of War Raiders, because we kind of all figured War Raiders were winning that championship. And now we know some of the titles have changed hands, some of them haven't. War Raiders going forward, we got a couple tag teams that would potentially fight them, heel or face. We all still kind of leaning towards the idea of Forgotten Sons, or do you guys think something more along the lines of what I'm starting to think, which is it's not the Forgotten Sons that'll beat them, it's some tag team that doesn't exist yet?
It could be. I still think the Undisputed Era's got one more match, and I think it'll be some iteration where it's Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, or maybe it's Fish and O'Reilly kind of reforming that team, because I do think that they're going to make good on their word to try to go for all the titles.
I think Undisputed Era will have at least one rematch, but I think that'll be on NXT TV, and then War Raiders will fight whoever wins the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic at New York, but I don't think they'll beat War Raiders. So I don't see War Raiders losing it until, well, just as another spoiler thing, until Gargano and Ciampa reunite and take the titles from them.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking at some point, don't know if it'll be the War Raiders, because I still think that they want to do a winner-take-all kind of deal in New Orleans. That Gargano and Ciampa will be... That's in New Orleans? Yeah, New York. Gargano and Ciampa will be tag team champions at some point.
Well, what about the North American Championship? Because now that we have Johnny Gargano, we have a different champion set of options. You know, we don't have to stick with the heels. We can go to baby faces now. And the 3 that stand out to me the most are Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, and Velveteen Dream. And you know, it doesn't have to be those 3, but those make the most sense to me. And out of that list, honestly, I could see any of the 3 of them getting that next shot, and I could see any of the 3 of them being the next champion somewhere down the line. I'm leaning a little bit more towards the idea that Keith Lee gets a shot on NXT TV and not at TakeOver, but they could build him up, and he could be the type of guy that gets a shot, like, you know, before Money in the Bank or something like that.
Right.
But I don't know, man. This is tough, because if you factor that in and you factor in the Tommaso Ciampa situation, I don't know if I trust the idea that Matt Riddle is going to be pushed to get that title shot at New York. And they already did the Velveteen Dream one. So where do you go, you know?
Well, with the North American territory, I think it's fairly straightforward. You give Ricochet his rematch. I don't believe that Ricochet's coming up to the main roster just yet. I think it'll be post WrestleMania if he does come up. And so you just build up the rematch for that one. In terms of, if it's not Ricochet, then I think Matt Riddle makes the most sense for the North American one. I don't think he's been around quite long enough yet to go for the main title when he hasn't had a variety of feuds enough yet to go for the World Championship.
Yeah, because if he is going to go for the World Championship, he's pretty much going straight from his very first feud to being the top champion. And it's not unheard of because this is NXT and they've had people come in and basically, I mean, look at Kevin Owens. Owens comes in, wrestles one match, the next match he's the champion.
But you seem to be going by the perspective then that Ciampa's definitely losing in New York.
He might not, though. That's another part, too. And they could do something as easy as, like a fatal 4-way or something like that to just kind of get some names in there and make it a little bit interesting. Like, we could get, for instance, if we do get the Undisputed Era trying to get all the championships, there could be a series of matches like that. We could get Strong and O'Reilly against War Raiders again. And we can get Ricochet, Gargano, and Bobby Fish fighting for the North American Championship, with or without Velveteen Dream, because Velveteen Dream did say he wants to fight for that title. And then we could get something like Ciampa. I don't know. See, because then it's like, who the fuck fights Ciampa? Maybe they just do something different and they have somebody from the main roster come down. They've done that in the past with like Mickie James. Well, she wasn't in the main roster then, but Mickie James fought Asuka. Like, maybe they bring in somebody like that and that's how they get around it or something. Or I don't know, but at the very least, Adam Cole against Tommaso Ciampa, heel versus heel, it would sell, you know?
I have enough faith in NXT in the fact that they seem to always know where they're going. And even if it doesn't seem like the clearest path initially, we'll at least have some sort of sense, and I'm willing to go along for the ride, see whether it does work out. Like, I could see different people going for the NXT. There's enough like strong baby faces in NXT that there's enough people that could fight for the NXT World Championship. You could build up Keith Lee, like shoot him up really quickly because he's a good enough worker that you could push him up that high. Matt Riddle has enough charisma that you could build him up that high. Velveteen Dream could get another opportunity at it because he's arguably the most popular guy on the entire roster. You could do a multi-man match which involves Johnny Gargano, and the North American Championship may not be defended. You might have a fatal 4-way with Gargano, Ciampa, Adam Cole, and Velveteen Dream or something like that. And then you have an interesting dynamic of, will Gargano try and beat Ciampa to win the championship?
I think that we'll know for sure by the results of the Worlds Collide tournament and by the next Full Sail tapings. I'm not entirely convinced that the Undisputed Era won't turn babyface, and maybe that's how you get to Adam Cole versus Ciampa, or some form of the Undisputed Era now becoming the top story in NXT revolving around the championship.
I mean, that is one of the only matches that they haven't necessarily done is Adam Cole versus Tommaso Ciampa. And they got to know that this crowd in New York would love to see that. They would just eat it up. So they don't need to necessarily do babyface versus heel. They could just have Adam Cole be like the de facto babyface. Or for all you know, they can bring in, I don't know, who's somebody that they can bring in?
I don't know. You could, if you want to move Cedric Alexander into NXT.
Again, that Worlds Collide tournament.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Very helpful.
He's not in anymore.
Yeah, he already lost.
Oh, jeez. Oh, well.
Yeah, he lost the first round.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Sorry, Cedric.
There's 4 NXT guys still into it heading into the second round, the quarterfinals, I guess. So there's ample opportunity that an NXT guy is going to win it, or even if an NXT guy doesn't win it, they can still challenge for the NXT Championship. So it'd be interesting. That might be who Ciampa's next challenger is, and that might just be a TV show. It might be a live event. It might be all the way out to New Orleans if they wanted to build it up that regard. But it'll be interesting to see what the results will be.
I mean, since for some reason nobody on the fucking internet knows what happened during the last match, but if the thing that I've come across is true, it's 1 NXT UK guy and 3 NXT guys.
Huh. Oh, they've done the next round as well?
Yeah, they did round 2.
Oh, okay. I only thought they only did round 1 for the first one. But I guess there's 3 NXT guys and 1 NXT UK guy.
So those NXT guys, like, I mean, not to spoil too much, but the idea behind it of them fighting for the 205 Live Cruiserweight Championship doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. The NXT UK guy could, and the NXT UK guy could go over to NXT, but it's like, what's the point? So I don't know. This thing's really tough. And maybe that's actually what they do to factor in how to get there. Because
shit.
I wouldn't be too
Hold on.
shocked if a certain person won and then fought for the NXT Championship.
Well, there was a big brawl that took place after TakeOver, and it says Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole all brawled with Black and Ciampa and Ricochet. There's a gigantic NXT brawl at the end of TakeOver, which
didn't air.
Which ends with Ricochet, Dream, and Black doing what people on the internet are calling a curtain call.
Huh.
I think, well, that could obviously, it could be a curtain call for all of them, but it could just be a curtain call for one of them, and they were just like celebrating with him. I don't want to say read too much into it, but obviously you can't really help but do that in this sort of situation. But we won't know until the Rumble.
You guys heard it here first. The way that Velveteen Dream and Ricochet and Aleister Black is what it was.
Yeah.
Those were the three. All three of them embracing each other in the ring just goes to show Razor Ramon and Diesel are leaving for AEW.
Okay. Oh.
So that's NXT TakeOver. We will, of course, know, we said this, I think, twice already, but we will know more of where this is all heading in the future once they do the tapings, which is going to be happening at, I think it's Full Sail on the 30th. But we also will know more with tomorrow's Worlds Collides tournament. We will know more when it comes to the Royal Rumble, because even though there are people that have popped up in the Royal Rumble and they've stayed in NXT, like Adam Cole, we could get people that come up to the main roster just tomorrow night. We could get more information on Monday Night Raw. We could get more on SmackDown, because they could kind of, carry over a little bit when it comes to that. Or we might end up on the 30th, after all these things have passed by, still have no idea where they're going. And then we just have to sit there and figure out what happens in February and in March. But I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm sure the way that NXT works out, it'll be a great show no matter what. Because even though I felt underwhelmed by this main event, I still think that this was a pretty damn good card. And it's not going to be my favorite of the year, I hope. I hope that we get better ones than this, but still pretty good. So it's on my list already, at the very least. Any other thoughts you guys got to wrap this up tonight?
Just NXT, once again, it might not have been the greatest takeover I've ever seen, but it's always a very fun show to watch, and it's never, ever a drag.
Yeah, definitely not the peak NXT takeover, but it follows the trend. Never been a bad NXT takeover, and yeah, just it's the best possible way to start the Royal Rumble weekend.
Alrighty, everybody, make sure you drop your comments below, like I mentioned before, and tell us what you thought about this, whether you agree or you disagree with us. Make sure you also hit that subscribe button on YouTube and ring the bell for the notifications, because tomorrow we are going to be doing the post show for the Royal Rumble. And then following that, we've got hot tags and we've got the mailbag for next week. So send in your mailbag questions if you haven't done that already. And all the other things that are going to be coming your way over the next, 300 years that we were doing this. Make sure you also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment. Check out the Patreon if you got some spare change you want to throw our way, whether it's $1 or $1 million. Also hit up the TeePublic and Redbubble shops for merchandise. And stay tuned to SmarkOutMoment.com for all the other stuff that's happening on that site. Check out Bleacher Report and eWrestling News for the stuff that I'm putting out on there, as well as the stuff that Rob's got going on there. He'll tell you that in a second. Also, check out FanboysAnonymous.com, because we are in that time frame where I'm going to be watching these movies that head up to the Academy Awards, and I'll be kind of tossing out opinions about some different movies and stuff here and there as that goes along. And I think that's about it. So let's just go around the horn here one more time. Rob, any other kind of things you want to toss out?
All right, so as Tony said, stay tuned to eWrestling News. Also, stay tuned to WrestleZone.com, where we have stories like Jack Swagger, defeating his Bellator MMA opponent by submission in very quick fashion.
Oh, he won?
And
Nice.
yeah, he won pretty quickly. And tomorrow, before the Royal Rumble, on WrestleZone.com, it is the fast food Royal Rumble, the appetizer, if you will, to the Royal Rumble itself. Now, what this is myself and Kevin Kellum will be doing a live stream, which will review TakeOver, preview the Royal Rumble, and then it will be a virtual smackdown of all these food mascots where you're going to see Ronald McDonald in the ring with the Coca-Cola Bear and the Jolly Green Giant, and it's a lot of fun, and it'll be done through WWE 2K19. And yeah, a lot of work's gone into it, so I hope you check it out. Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice, and check out TimekillerApparel.com and all that kind of stuff. Callum?
Okay, follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. I was all over the weekly stuff this week on SmarkMoment.com. I did both the Power Rankings and the Women's Wrestling Weekly in place of Gabby Velasquez. So check out both those articles because I spent time on them, and I deserve your time. And then the final thing is that me and Rob have been working on a little side project, which will hopefully be coming to the channel pretty soon once I've finally get around to editing it and like breaking bits and pieces down. So stay tuned for that. It should be coming by the end of January.
Alrighty, everybody, that is it for us. So thank you for listening, and thank you for all your support, whether you give us a like or a favorite or a share or a comment or whatever the hell else is going on like that. It's all greatly, greatly appreciated, and we will see you tomorrow for the Royal Rumble talk. So adios, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.